Hello. I think it's about time I considered doing an intro for these videos. It seems right, but I'm racking my brain for any little intro clip that I could do, but I'm pretty much coming up with blank. So I got zilch, or what I could say at the start of the video. So here goes. If you think of a cool or funny intro clip for this video, please feel free to comment it down below. This is ideally a safe space. If you enjoy this kind of content or like this video, please leave a like as it would help massively. And feel free to subscribe so I can keep making more stupid videos about a ultra niche hobby that I hyperfixate on like you have never seen. And speaking of hyperfixate, the word bearers. They're my new obsession and eventual hobby goal until the next shiny thing comes along to steal my attention. The word bearers are a particularly odd bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses. With the release of 10th edition and the new detachments mechanic, word bearers rules-wise don't really have a shtick anymore, and with the new CSM codex, I feel like I should try and correct what I said about a month ago, but that can be for another time. This video is specifically about one thing, and that is the word bearers. Unlike my Night Lord video, this isn't going to be some soapy whinge on the internet about how these guys are the best, which the Night Lords abso-fucking-lutely are. This is going to be a far more organized and logical explanation explaining who the word bearers are and explaining why they are also a personal favorite sub-faction of mine. In addition to this, like I usually do with the rules section, I'll still try and do a thematic word bearers list that you could try and run with the newest rules for funsies, so that this video isn't just a lore dump, and so that I can add to the watch time. You know, nice, juicy, meaty rules substance, right? But let's start with the lore, because of course we start with the lore. We aren't some vile, unsophisticated bunch. Shit, how do you spell sophisticated? The word bearer's journey begins, as all Marines do, with the Emperor. Originally known as the Imperial Heralds, the Legion fought beside the Emperor since the days of the Unification Wars. They were very distinct in the way they fought, as unlike their brothers and other legionnaires, right? They brought a fanatical zeal and devotion to the theater of war unlike any of the other legions. Picture this. A cold and righteous wind blow across the sands of holy terror whenever the Imperial Heralds took to the field, as the icy fury of divine representatives was bountifully distributed amongst the enemies of the Emperor and the Imperium. Not only was the Legion fanatically driven to clean the stain against the Emperor that was the Techno-Barbarians that survived Old Night and Xeno Raiders that ran rampant during the Great Crusade, but the Legion also took extreme care to clear the records of their now felled enemies to expunge any information that was deemed either heretical or sorcerous. At the time, their charcoal gray armor stood out as particularly bizarre, as they fought with little to no heraldry. That is, other than the burning tome on each Legionnaire's shoulder and company detachments. Instead, they were denoted by their absolute belief in the Imperial truth, and how the very ideas of religion or faith, the facts that defied the edict of the Emperor, were seen as utterly and absolutely unspeakably heinous, which I feel, but this is personal now, leaves a sweet taste of irony within the Legion. Eventually, the Emperor with the Imperial Heralds discovered Lorgar on the feudal world of Colchis, which now means I have to talk about Lorgar. Lorgar Aurelian. The objectively worst thing about the word bearers was the 17th Primarch. he crashed on Colchis and was discovered and taken in by his adoptive father, Corpheron. Corpheron believed that the newly found Lorgar was blessed with the powers, and so used Lorgar to attain power on Colchis. Corpheron didn't beat Lorgar nearly enough, and so Lorgar's wimpy and nerdy ass was allowed to survive, which would have genuinely catastrophic consequences for literally everyone ever. Either way, Lorgar, despite the insufficient abuse, became a devout disciple of the Covenant and the eventual ascendant archpriest of the Godsworn. Eventually, he'd also become the bearer of the word, but, bearer of the word, word bearers. I wonder what gave the Legion its name. Getting ahead of myself. During this period, Lorgar would receive intense visions of a gleaming bronze warrior and red giant in blue robes. Thus, Lorgar began to preach that Colchis' god was soon to return. Some time would pass, and Lorgar would begin to attract many enemies, culminating in 2 separate civil wars. The first being dubbed the Schism Wars between the Old Faith and the Brotherhood, and the latter being called the Great Purge. If you couldn't tell, the Bronze Warrior and the Red Giant were the Emperor accompanied by Magnus, or was the Emperor accompanied by Magnus, who arrived on Colchis nearly about a year after this Great Purge. Lorgar immediately swore fealty to the Emperor, and celebrations that lasted for months began in honor of the Emperor. Obviously, being the biggest atheist of all time, the Emperor did not approve of this. Either way, once celebrations had ended, Lorgar was named the commander of the 17th and was quick to rename the Word-Bearers into the Word-Bearers, or Imperial Heralds into the Word-Bearers, but I don't care. During the Great Crusade, Lorgar would slowly claim worlds under the banner of the Imperium, but ensure that each and every world would be completely compliant and faithful to the Imperium. Ooh, trigger word. Specifically believing that the Emperor was not only this powerful leader figure, but a living god that should be worshipped and revered. Funny enough, the writings of Lorgar that depicted the Emperor as a god, the Lectitio Divinitatis, would eventually be the canister of gasoline that would be fucking yeeted onto the raging bonfire that would be the Ecclesiarchy, which commanded that the imperial truth be transformed into the imperial faith. Until then, Lorgar still had a mad spanking to undergo. Oh boy. Due to the Word-Bearers' low rate of compliance through the worlds that they brought into compliance, even though they were devout to a fault. The fact the Emperor finally realized that all the worlds that the Word-Bearers brought were hyper-religious zealotry pits that spawned absolute believers. The Emperor demanded that the entirety of the Word-Bearers, including Lorgar Aurelian himself, were to be brought before him and Robute Guilliman, or Robute Guilliman. The guerrilla was ordered to level Lorgar's project on Monarchia, and the Word-Bearers, under the absolute gigachad psychic might of the Emperor, were all forced to kneel before him in an act of utter humiliation. But Lorgar is a massive soy wojak, so after crying in his room for roughly a month because daddy no likey, he turned to the front lines and began taking worlds in an extremely rapid succession. This act that the Emperor punished Lorgar with sparked hatred and rebellion in Lorgar. It sparked it within him and his legion. Lorgar would turn away from the imperial faith and return to his original faith, worshipping the dark gods who not only wanted zealous worshippers, but demanded zealous worshippers. This made Lorgar inconceivably, unimaginably, indescribably wet. And so roughly 43 years before the Horus Heresy broke out, its events were set in motion. The rest is less Word-Bearers lore and more just the events of the Horus Heresy and the fall of Horus Lupercal, which I would be happy to cover in its own video, However, that would be a damn long video, and I'm getting unimaginably bored talking about Lorgar. So, here's the deal. I'm gonna blitz through this last bit because fuck Lorgar, to Mars and back. You guys don't deserve to suffer, I don't deserve to suffer. Let's jump to why the word bearers are cool, okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Lorgar does funny shit on a newly discovered Cadia, whoops the avatar of Cain, I think, and officially joins Chaos. Lorgar lets Erebus off his BDSM chain to go and turn Horus to Chaos. Horus falls to Chaos and declares independence. A drop-side massacre fucks over the Salamanders, Iron Hands, my beloved, and Ravenguard. Lorgar 1v1s Corvus Corax. Lorgar loses against Corvus Corax. Lorgar gets sent to stop the Ultramarines by Horus himself and ends up blowing Cal with Angron. Lorgar and Angron become besties and make out. Lorgar turns Angron into a big fuck-off red kill man after the one-night stand. Wordbearers and World Eaters are deported from Ultramar and run to Terra. Lorgar fucks over Angron a little bit on New Syria. Lorgar starts doubting Horus. The Wordbearers led by Zardu Lilac fight on Terra, and at some point, Argul Tal gets killed by Erebus. So let's say it everybody with me. Come on, it's a prayer. Fuck Erebus. Horus dies, and the traitors run. Lorgar becomes a demon prince of Chaos Undivided for the Horus heresy. Corvus catches up with Lorgar, and Lorgar gets fucked up real bad. Lorgar now ends up crying in his little tower in the warp, and the wordbearers are now off to go around do cool shit. Okay. Now that was a lot. I know. But it's for the best. We had to talk about Lorgar being a major fuckwit at some point. But the band-aid's been ripped. At least it's over with. Look on the bright side. In the 42nd millennium, the wordbearers now go around and just be major assholes to everyone, which is based, not gonna lie. But now, we can talk about what makes the wordbearers cool. The wordbearers, their major thing, is that they lean so hard into all of the chaosy things that you get when you join Chaos. If you like all of the fucked up things you can do when you get in Chaos, these are your boys. During the heresy, their armor colors were changed to red with silver trim and black shoulder pads, which is the colors they still carry into the 40k setting, and it is a sexy color palette. But other than that, the aesthetic of the wordbearers is warp mutations and possessions, baby. Wordbearers goddamn love all manners of chaos spawn, possessed, chosen, obliterators, demon princes, pretty much anything that has become all twisted and pointy. That is very much their vibe. Not only do they love all the freaky things, they ain't freakazakis, they freakanamis. They love to make freaky things, and that is what makes the wordbearers fucking cool. The wordbearers are the big bad, ultra evil, hideous, heinous, creepy, wacky, woo-woo villains of 40k. Drip themselves out with as much demon and possessed shit they can get their choir boy fiddling fingers on, and that is cool. Now, rules section. How do you do a thematic wordbearers list, right? Especially now that detachments are no longer faction-based, it's more just detachments. Well, right off the bat, the most Wordbearers-E detachments in the 8th edition Chaos Space Marine Codex, which just... Let's take just a quick second to just... appreciate this new codex. Bellissimo. Has got to be either the Pack-Bound Zealots, to get all of the Chaos God buffs, or the Renegade Raiders detachment if you are bringing some faster units like Possesseds or Mauler Fiends. The Pack-Sworn Zealots detachment is just the Chaos Space Marine Index detachment rules, right? The Chaos Space Marine video applies, but the Renegade Raiders detachment is a bit different. All weapons get assault, and you get a army-wide +1 armor penetration against all enemies on objective markers. Very nice. You could also run the Soulforged Warpact, which is the dedicated Vashtor detachment, which makes sense because word bearers like demon stuff a lot, and doing a Vashtor detachment as a word bearer's army does make sense. And the detachment buffs your tanks if you really want a monster mashy word bearers tank demon army, but we're straying from the point here. Let's get back to word bearers, just the word bearers. You ideally either run the Paxed Sworn Zealots, like I said, the ideal word bearers one for maximum Chaos God shenanigans, or the Renegade Raiders attachment for fast killing power. Then, in your list, you bring at least one Demon Prince, one Master of Possession, ideally wrought, chosen or possessed, one Dark Apostle, and one Chaos Lord, Terminator or Vanilla. Kit bash the shit out of it. These are your leaders for maximum word bearers thematicness. But do consider the buffs that each unit gets. This is not a guide nor an exacting list, because I don't have the patience to theory craft that hard. After that, you bring legionaries, of course, and a transport vehicle to roll those boys around in style. A rhino works just fine, but a land raider can really pay off if you're willing to spend the points and money. Next, you bring a couple of Chaos Spawn units if you want fast attacking power, or a Chosen Squad for more steady firepower. Then, Possessed. Definitely Possessed. And either some Raptors, if you want fast melee heavy army, to pair with those fast attacking powers. Yes, Chaos Spawn. Or Venom Crawlers and Obliterators for a more shooty army. Okay, hear me out. Just let me cook. From there, the key word bearers units should be in your army, and you can just build around this theme for a decent army with a zealoty melee feel, or with Chaos Spawn and Raptors. Right? With the Pact-bound Zealots, you get a more gambly, risk it for the Dark Gods vibe, particularly with the Obliterators, which their shooting is very randomized. Paired with the randomized rules, very nice. You could get really, really good stuff. You could fuck up real bad. All decided by the Dark Gods, which is as word bearers as it gets. Alright? So, yes, this is what I imagine is a thematic word bearers list. Do keep it in mind that word bearers are more a vibe now than they are sub-factions, so they don't necessarily have specific rules, and you can kind of just bring characters along. So maybe even could chuck Abaddon in there. But it's what I think would make an ideal word bearers list platform, I guess. You can build off of it in however you like. It's just good to see more people playing the hobby. And that pretty much sums up the word bearers. Keep in mind what I mentioned in the rules section. Just a suggestion, right? Just a suggestion. I don't play CSM, I just look at the rules all day. And it's word bearers like. Okay? It's what I think is the most word bearers like. If you like this video, please comment down below, give me a funny, like and subscribe to keep in the know, and yeah. Fuck Erebus.
Rocky Road McDonald's.